Full moon Taurus, 24 degrees, Sabian symbol, 24 to 25 degrees, which considers Taurus 25 degrees. Understand? Taurus 25 degrees is hosting both the full moon Taurus and Uranus. This is a fair conjunction, and this conjunction expresses Sabian symbol, a large, well-kept public park, a large, well-kept public park, working collectively, belonging to a tribe or community involves us in working together toward shared goals that we all enjoy. Participation in community responsibilities. A large, well-kept public park. Taking this into consideration, we could expect that experiences, collectively and individually, will manifest to bring this consciousness forward to the forefront of our experience of stability and resources, resourcefulness, and a sense of gratitude in being present. And what's most significant is collectivism, working together. We all have desires, we all have needs. And what should always be remembered is that self can only go but so far in manifesting what we need or what we want. Community requires our gratitude, our participation, and a mature outlook on the fact that what we want to experience requires our involvement in what we want to experience. Are we involved? Are we participating in creating the reality that we all have common need of, common desire of? Rather, it is for enjoyment, security, fulfillment, our basic needs. Are we participating? This can be true in our relationships, especially in our public and social experiences. Where are we providing, participating, getting involved in what we believe and know should exist, should be? Taurus does represent our second house, and the polarity of Taurus is the 8th house. And the 8th house is a community algorithm of spirit, in the sense that the 8th house is where we bring our second house to meet with the second house of someone else or some others, which can also include a system, an institution, an organization, an environment, where we give from our second house to a situation, a circumstance, or to a person in the form of debts, payments, agreements, contracts, something that is cultivated where there is benefit, where there is reward, where there is inheritance. Understand, value that is exchanged. Value can be in services, monetary sense, the wisdom that you're giving to a situation, advice that you're providing, the influence that you're bringing to an environment. Someone showing up can give confidence to other people. A person being present can give confidence to other people. It can give encouragement. Your presence has the power to encourage people, to make them feel like I can do it. Now that this person is here, I feel enabled. I feel emboldened. This is especially with those individuals who have powerful influences, stellium or planets in the 8th house. Okay? When you have a strong influence in the 8th house, you are a person that shows up and gives confidence and strength to other people when the going gets tough, when things get real, when the difficulty arises. Understand? In moments of crisis, you help people to feel like, I can do this. I could pull through. That is a Scorpio attribute as well. I'm speaking about this because it's the polarity. The polarity is the large, well-kept public park. Okay? But it's coming from Taurus. Okay? So when we talk about a large, well-kept public park, that's the 8th house. All right? That also includes the 11th house. So the 8th house and the 11th house is where we show up with our 2nd house to give contribution to an environment or experience. Co-creating the experience. Co-creating what we want to experience and to exist. We're co-creators. Understand? I want a happy relationship. I want to enjoy a happy environment, a rich environment, a good experience. So you bring the qualities, the attributes, the values, the behavior, the character, the attitude, the disposition, the resources that enables that to be. We have to participate in it. What are we putting in the water? What are we putting in the environment? What are we bringing to the experience? That makes it a large, well-kept public park. You step outside, right, and you sniff the air and you smell something foul, right? You look around and you see trash, dog poop, different things like that. These are things that make us feel very unhappy. I wish I wasn't here, so on and so forth. Well, it's a sign that there's not a collective community effort. There's not a collective community consciousness that presides over this environment. You see? So when we start thinking in that way, collective community consciousness, it doesn't have to be a situation like, HOA, the homeowners association, where you're being a Karen from across the street and, you're bothering and harassing people for not cutting the bushes a certain way or when they cut the grass. But the matter is that our country, our city, our state, our neighborhood, our village, our house, our home, our relationships, the work environment, all of these things, it's a collective effort to make it what we want it to be. It is a collective effort to create the environment that we want to have and experience. It's a collective effort. It's unfair to assume that it's somebody else's job to give us a good experience. It's somebody else's role to give us a good experience. It is our role. It is our job to give each other a good experience, because it's not all about me. It's not all about you. Understand? So when you have trash and you throw it on the floor instead of putting it in a trash can, you are giving a contribution, but what are you contributing to? You're contributing to an offensive experience. You're contributing to an environment that people are not going to want to be in, where there's trash and there's offenses. Understand? Same thing with our communities, our world, our behavior, our character, how we show up in our community. We are co-creating what could be said about that city. We're co-creating what could be said about that village, about that town. We're co-creating what could be said about that household, about that family. We are co-creating what could be said about that relationship, that marriage, or that parenting dynamic. We're co-creating it. One person didn't make it that way. One person didn't make it that way. Everybody contributed to it becoming like that. A large, well-kept public park. It shows that there's pride. It shows that there's, keyword, dignity. Dignity. The full moon Taurus indeed highlights dignity, dignification, the return of dignity, the return of dignification. It brings us back there, and so collectively, obviously, at this degree. What this also suggests is that there's possibly work to do for the collective. So if this Sabian symbol is the expression of Uranus and the moon, full moon that is, this closure is a closure of an unkept park. Okay? It's closing out a park that has not been well kept. If it's expressing this, it's expressing what's ahead. It's expressing what is to be. It's expressing what energy is being called to us, to become us. What's to be fated to us as an experience to pass through. So this has given us the insight and the foresight to know that we're going to be expected collectively to contribute to the environment, to make it what we want it to be. In our country, wherever country you're in, your city, whatever city that you're in, your community, your relationship, to make it what you want it to be. So it's not somebody else's job to say, hey, you should make me happy. You should make me feel secure. You should make me feel safe. No, let's create the experience together so that we can witness that feeling, that thought, that memory. Let's create it together. We co-create. We co-create. Working collectively, we can expect that we're going to download group consciousness. Now, what does this work well with? Aquarius, you guessed it. Who else is behind this degree of expression? Uranus, which is one of the lords of Aquarius. The other lord is Saturn, as you know. Saturn suggests hard work, discipline, accountability, character, obedience, repetition, okay? Father time. These characteristics with Uranus, which is innovation, looking to the future, improving upon what has been created, improving upon what has been, taking what we know and moving forward from it with wisdom, okay? Because Uranus includes wisdom, not knowledge. It includes wisdom. ruling over Aquarius, the water bearer, it's about wisdom. And because it's about wisdom, Uranus directs the codes of mastery, such as the master numbers 11, 22, 33. Uranus is what hosts those who are masters, and it hosts the mastery that all of us have and that all of us are destined to have. Uranus. Uranus hosts genius, downloads and revelations from timelines and dimensions that are incomprehensible. Understand? So, Uranus also has to do with collective efforts, society as a combination with Saturn. So, having said this, we have innovations to do. We have innovations to work collectively. This is our time where we are forming a new world. The old world was quite unkept. And it's quite unkept because it got to that point with us as we were learning from the crisis, the karma, the fated experiences that were to test us, develop us, enlighten us. And you have to have light and dark to evolve. You have to have good and bad. You have to have evil and you have to have virtue to evolve. We have to have both. And when you have a busy environment, okay, in this world, in the past world that we're coming out of, that busy environment, so much construction was being done on the souls, on humanity overall. And you know that when you have a big project to do, when you're covering many phases of a project, what happens to that environment? It gets messy. Okay? You have paper everywhere, nails, screws, sawdust, all right? Whatever it is that you're working on, when you are being constructive, when you have a project to do, projects produces a mess, right? It makes a mess. We just came out of a mess. At least as I'm speaking about America. Don't worry, I'm not going to go into the sensitive things, all right? I'm not here to poke pain at people, all right? We already discoursed those details of that old world. This is about moving forward, all right? So moving forward, looking in hindsight, that was a dirty task because there was so much construction that had to be done and destructing that had to be done. It was a messy work. To make something beautiful, you have to make a mess. When a woman goes into the bathroom and she makes herself beautiful, she's about to go out to do all these different things, the bathroom gets messy. All right? We all know this, right? When a man is, well, anybody, okay? When somebody's working on a car, fixing a car, okay, or detailing a car, you're cleaning a house, you're pressure washing something, no matter what it is that you're doing, when you're cleaning or constructing, you make a mess as you do so. When you're cooking, you make a mess as you do so. You can clean as you go. That would be very productive. But nonetheless, the point is, in order to construct and in order to clean, you create a mess as you do so. All right? And you clean up that mess as you go or after you finish constructing what you constructed or cleaning what you clean. The car is detailed, but you got all these dirty rags and buckets because you had to detail it. Garbage bags because you had to clear out everything that was in the back seat. Chicken bones in the, in the console. Okay. It was a mess, but the car is now clean. You see, you go to get a haircut. It makes a mess. You got hair all over the place, dandruff all over the clippers. You understand? Hair all over the floor inside of the barber shop. All right. And even though your haircut looks really nice, you look cleaned up, trimmed up, you got hair on you, okay? He probably dusted it off, maybe even used a fancy little vacuum on you, okay? But you still have to take a shower because you have hair all over you. Even though you look handsome now, you still got hair all over you, so you still got to take a shower, okay? It makes a mess to make you beautiful, all right? You go to the hairstylist, hair all over the place, you're getting your hair braided or I don't know, perm press, whatever you're doing, okay? It's a mess before it gets beautiful, all right? You want to stay in shape. You go to the gym, you're sweaty, perspiration, sweaty and musty and all this other stuff. But you're keeping yourself beautiful. You're keeping yourself healthy. So I don't mind giving another example. This is fun. Come on, let's get into it. You build a house. A construction site is very messy. Okay, I'm a blue collar man, right? Now, anything that you're building, you're gonna have plywood all over the place, nails, paint, all kind of chemicals. All right, noises. It's messy. But the finished product is beautiful. Look at this house. Oh, this is wonderful. But just a couple weeks ago, there was trash all over the place, plywood and boards and that. So the point that I'm trying to make is, I've been talking about a lot of messy things, okay, for the past 2 years with South Node Libra. I started talking about South Node Libra a month before it came in. And we're finally about to head out of South Node Libra. When we go into North Node, Pisces, South Node, Virgo, I'm going to do the same thing, all right? I'm going to drill it in until you get tired of hearing it. I'm going to drill it in until you say, well, this nigga, please stop talking about this shit. God damn. But one thing for sure, you're going to remember. You might even tap out before you make it to the end. That's cool. All right. But I delivered the message and I delivered it very well. I delivered it detailed. I didn't hold back. I was honest, truthful, even though many people may not like me as a result of doing so. I kept it real. Understand? It was messy to talk about it because it was a mess to construct something beautiful. It was a mess to bring the beauty out. It was a mess to get to the finished product, okay? And as I was talking about women so much with the South Node Libra, okay, feminism, these different things, that is the mess that's producing the beautiful product in the end, which we bear witness to the prophecy, okay, of the moon conjunct Pluto as it went into the direction of Aquarius out of Capricorn 29th degree. Okay, that's a prophecy. And that prophecy is the mess is over. Now the beautiful woman is going to manifest in the end. Okay, so this starts the beautification of women. This starts the glory of women. She got her hair trimmed. Just like when I was talking about the barbershop, you got hair all over you. Just like when you build a house, there's trash everywhere, okay? Just like when you're fixing a car, you got grease all over your forearms. You got tools laying all over the place and chemicals to fix the car. But when you finish, you clean it up. And when you clean it up, you can take pride in what you have done, what you created, what you built, what you constructed, what you have brought beauty to. Understand? You polish and clean something, you got rags that's dirty all over the place. So the things I was speaking about over these past 19 months, what I have been speaking about is the necessary trash at the construction site, the necessary dirty rags as the woman is being polished, all right? The trash everywhere as a new woman is being constructed. We had to pass through feminism to get there. We had to pass through dysfunctional behaviors as we got there. The same thing happened to us as males. We went first. We were the first to do construction to the world. Well, destruction to the world. We were the first to bring violence upon the world, bloodshed upon the world, misogyny upon the world, tyranny upon the world, oppression upon the world. We did that first. It's simply women's turn to try the world through her shadow, just as men tried the world through their shadow. And guess what? We're going to keep on taking turns because we cause each other to grow and evolve just like the twin flames. The twin flames are two characters who are just alike in polarization, and they damn near terrorize each other through passion as they learn to undo the lack of love within the core of self that they have to open up to. Understand, one has to open up to receiving love from others. One has to open up to giving love to self, okay? The runner and the chaser dynamic. So on the outside, it looks ugly. They're fighting each other, they're arguing, they're toxic, they're going back and forth, and they got the police outside, all right? But next thing you know, they're back together, loving each other, so-called, and then they split up and fight, and then they come back together. From the outside looking in, you would say, oh, this is terrible, it's dysfunctional, what's wrong with them? Nothing is wrong with them. They are contracted and bonded by the fire of passion so that they could cause transformation and evolution to each other by initiating each other through pain. Understand? And that is the initiation of self-discovery that they have. That initiates the opportunity to learn love through love of self. Rather, it's inward or outward, giving or taking, or giving or receiving, masculine, feminine. Understand? So this is the same thing with the South Node Libra. Now, what this suggests is that we're at the cleanup crew. This is the cleanup. A beautiful product has been produced. Now, you may not see it yet. We may not see it yet. But the dark things that we pass through concerning celebrities, as I mentioned, which are fallen stars, okay? That was with Black Moon Lilith as she went through Leo. We no longer are seeing celebrities as ideals, except for the people who are stuck in the past timeline. Feminism is fallen. So now the female is set free, but freedom first looks like cognitive dissonance because she has to face disillusionment before breaking herself out of it. She doesn't realize that she's free yet, but soon as she realizes she is free, her beauty is going to radiate because she's going to find security in her true identity, in her divine feminine. And she's going to realize that all along it was available to her. And when she embraces it, she's going to look in hindsight at who she used to be as a sisterhood. And it's going to illuminate deep wisdom in her because of those experiences that she passed through. And this is going to bring a superior woman out of the collective sisterhood. Okay? With men, this gives us insight and understanding into how we have been relating with her. And it also gives revelation of our access to our divine feminine and how we were relating to it or not, which was the difference between us reaching the woman or not. Understand, not necessarily her dysfunction. Okay? So these descriptions, working collectively, a large, well-kept public park, okay? The park grew wild, weeds everywhere, trash in the park, these different things. Now we got to come together, work together to clean it up, to prune it, to bring it back to reveal its true essence and beauty. its splendor, something to take pride in. This has a lot to do with our values, our dignity, our resources, which is not necessarily limited to monetary value. Our resources are also the wisdom that we have, the love that we have, the character that we have, the skills that we have, talents, our understanding, our knowledge, our experience, all of these different things. Practicing collectivism. We see now what is possible now that God has set us free from that South Node burden. And we have another South Node burden coming up through Virgo. And it's going to be the same thing. Each time we're going to be set free from the limitations, the darkness, the burdens of that South Node. Don't get mad at the messenger. Understand. Truth is not my friend and it's not your friend either. But it will set us free if we can handle it, if we can accept it. So this is where we get out of the barber's chair and we clean up. We shower. This is where you finally finish that hairstyle. You look great. You're ready to show how beautiful you are. You got hair all over the sink and makeup and all this other stuff. But this is where the beauty begins, okay, to shine and have its glory and splendor. Remember that strength and dignity, it goes together. It's a pair. And that strength represented through Leo, and Leo is where the light shines and illuminates in your life, understand? Okay? We're headed for that. Now, collective efforts, participation in community responsibilities. Participation in community responsibilities. Understand? Now, community is where you have mutual benefit and mutual responsibility to an environment where there is culture to adhere to. Understand? Now, culture is significant in this because, again, we're hosting Cancer Mars, which is in Leo now, okay, which represents the strength aspect that we are downloading a first glimpse at before the retrograde. When Mars gets into Cancer, we return back to an introspect of our personal culture and collective culture. So look how this works together. Mars is trying to generate a culture that is unique and authentic to the truest sense of identity in our deepest being, which is the inner child, fourth house Cancer. Okay? The inner child is the emotional body of the inner child. Leo is the expression of the inner child. They work hand in hand. So Mars is dealing with the emotional body of the inner child and also the expression of the inner child. It's working on both through Cancer and Leo. Culture is what informs community. In business, they say culture eats strategy for breakfast, okay? In culture is the wisdom, the intuitive memory of generations, the intuitive memory of ancestors brought forward into the current timeline, where everyone involved, everyone in the environment can make use of the same source of wisdom, the same pool of wisdom, the same pool of insight, and it informs your decisions. You didn't have to live with your grandmother, your great-grandmother, your uncle, your brother, your sister, your daughter, your friend, your husband, whoever else, Uncle Louie, okay? You didn't have to live what everybody lived because everybody contributes and pours into the culture, and they take from the culture as well. And the culture is what informs how we show up, how we treat each other, how we exchange, how we interact. It informs how we go about doing things, what is acceptable and what is not. Culture is changing because the timeline has changed. The outer planets are going direct. When the outer planets go direct, we're in a new timeline. Pluto is the timeline of your power, your empowerment, your wealth, your resilience, your revelations, your transformations. Understand? Saturn is going direct the same day that we have the full moon. Now, isn't that interesting? And with Saturn going direct, Saturn is father time. Saturn is what progresses us over timeline. And as it progresses us over timeline, it develops the character. It forms the character by giving us resistance, by giving us challenge, by giving us obstacle, by giving us delays. We develop strength within the being, within the soul, within the spirit. When there is a lack of strength in the spirit, we give over to bad character. We give over to harmful decisions. We give over to oppression. We give over to our lower impulses. We give over to crime, criminal activity, and criminal thoughts. We give over to self-victimization. We give over to all of the things that could cause us undoing, regrets, that can earn us karma. Strength fortifies the spirit. It fortifies the character. It fortifies the mind so that we can live up to the virtues and values that we know and believe in. Strength is what empowers the character. It develops the character. Strength is what allows us to do the right thing, even when nobody's looking. Strength is what allows us to dig deep, to find out what is the truth, to find out what is the best response, to find out what is the best reaction. Only with strength can we find that answer in the heat of the moment. Only with strength can we bear the burden of being truthful, of being noble, of being honorable, of being trustworthy. Only with strength. Understand? And for this reason, Proverbs 31:25, which says, "She is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future." Without fear of the future. The future is speaking about time. It's time. When we talk about time, we're talking about matters of outer planet, especially Saturn and Pluto. Time. And strength was mentioned first. Saturn and Leo. Saturn and Leo. Strength. Now, she is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. When you have strength, you don't fear what's coming. You don't fear what's coming because you know that you have something that you can always rely on. Your integrity, your virtue, your faith. The fact that you will always do the right thing, no matter what. And when you teach yourself by doing it over and over, time and time again, it becomes instinctual for you to do the right thing when nobody's looking. You don't fear and you don't flinch at what's coming, because you start to notice the common relationship between applying your character, your discipline, and your obedience, and your dignity. You start to find that they are related. That as long as you have integrity, as long as you're willing to work for and create what you desire, what you want, what you believe you should have without entitlement, you know that you will always be dignified. You know that you will always have dignity. You will never resort to selling your soul, selling the truth, betraying yourself, betraying your inner child, betraying others, throwing others under the bus, blaming others for what you have created. You know that you will never do it, because you taught yourself time and time again that when pressure comes, you have the strength to make the right decisions, that you have that obedience. And it's Saturn that instills that in us, and it has to develop that in us as we go uphill. And Saturn going direct, here it comes again to bless you with more strength, so that you can be dignified. Without your strength, you can have no dignity. You will beg instead of working for it. You will steal instead of having the honor to earn it. You will manipulate instead of having the respect and the honor to communicate and get others involved and help you to achieve what you want to achieve honestly. You will betray people. You will victimize yourself. When the pressure gets on you and your reputation, when the pressure gets on you and inconvenience that you created for yourself, regret that you created for yourself, or that you co-created with another person, if you don't have strength, you will push the blame on the other person to carry the weight. Strength has everything to do with matters such as cowardice. People who lack strength, they resort to being cowards. They have cowardly ways and cowardly behaviors. People without strength, they lie, dishonest. Strength is what upholds virtue. Strength upholds integrity. Strength is what makes us trustworthy, reliable. Because strength is what helps us to form the character where we can find all of these jewels in our spirit. Understand? So, getting to the point here, it's time to think in a community sense, in a collective sense. It's not the other person's responsibility to give you a good reputation. It's not the other person's responsibility to give you a good experience of your country, of your community, of your family, of your relationship. It is our responsibility to cause and create, co-create that. It is our responsibility. If you look like your brother in your community, if you look like your sister in your community, how you behave affects your sister and your brother who looks just like you. It does affect them. It's a community effort that needs to take place. When you and your brother have been suffering a reputation that maybe you didn't have anything to do with, but some people who look just like you, they continue to do things that brings shame to you, dishonor to you, a bad reputation. And it takes for you to Speak for yourself and act for yourself to demonstrate who you are, to erase the prejudices that other people may have about you because you stand in the image and likeness of some other people who may have misrepresented you. Hey, I seen some kids that look like such and such, they were vandalizing, and because your kid looks just like those kids, he wears the burden of it for what they were doing. It shouldn't be like that, but it is. If we don't want to wear a certain reputation, we should take it upon ourselves to change that. I don't like when, let me just give an example that doesn't have to do with anybody, okay? I don't like when I go out in public and people think that, or expect that I would behave or think a certain way. I don't have anything to do with that because that's not me. Well, the problem is that we do get weighed according to the communities that we represent. It has always been like that, and that's not going to change. And really, it should be like that. Whoever you represent, give them a good reputation. Whoever's name that you carry, give them a good reputation. Whoever's image that you have a likeness of, give them a good representation. I do my brother injustice by going outside acting like a nigga. I do him injustice because now everybody's going to be looking at my brother the same way because their last experience was with me acting like a damn nigga. It's a community effort. It's a collective effort. I don't want that reputation. I don't want him to have that reputation. So guess what else that looks like? Hey, brother, what? You threw that trash down there. You know, there's a trash can right over there. Yeah. Little things like that. We have to take care of each other by reminding each other. We have to remind each other when we lack and slack. We have to remind each other when we get off into misrepresentation of each other. And this is not a color thing, a race thing, but it's a community thing, okay? And sometimes color and race does have to do with it, and sometimes it don't. Sometimes demographics has to do with it. Sometimes nationality has to do with it. Sometimes rather you're from Alabama or you're from New York or you're from California, you're from Chicago, okay? Everybody wears reputations. That's just the way it is. And if you want something good to be said, which we all should, we want to enjoy a good reputation. We all want to enjoy this beautiful park. We want it to be a beautiful park. So beautify that park. Make that park beautiful. Work together to make sure that that park is beautiful. If you're from Alabama, give the best representation of a person from Alabama that you can. Enjoin what is good, forbid what is bad. If you're from New York, and give the best representation of a New Yorker that you can. Understand, you representing a company, a brand, give the best representation. Your family, give the best representation of your wife in her absence. Give the best representation of your husband in his absence. Give the best representation for your children. Don't come outside in bonnets and ashy ass ankles with no bra at the bus stop, embarrassing your kids. Be dignified. Have dignity. Have respect for your kids. It's time for the collective effort to no longer put it on other people to give you a good representation, to no longer put it on other people. When you know you show up like that and you earn that reputation, you the main one doing it. And then want to complain when somebody call you out or call out your group, your demographic, your neighborhood, your community, your household, your relationship. Well, you shouldn't have been behaving that way. Now you're getting called out. Now you're mad. Now you feel like a victim. Oh, it's the other person's fault. They out to get me, nana boo boo. This represents a cleanup time. And it's a beautiful thing. We can feel it in the air. There have been significant changes in America. And because of that, there's significant changes globally that I don't need to go into the details of, I already did. And these significant changes looks like cleanup time. There are a lot of strategic decisions that have been made from very high and powerful places. That's cleaning up the park. That's putting it back in order. That's beautifying it. And it's a task. It's a task to pull weeds. It's a task to cut the grass. It's a task to revive the flowers. It's a task. You run into rodents. You run into beehives. You make a mess as you clean up. Cleanup process, community participation. It can be a beautiful experience, but it does include some mess as well. Understand? My father was a community activist, and I watched him many times clean up neighborhoods in New York City, in New York. He went to the slums and he gathered people. And I'm so glad I got to be with him when he did it. He gathered people and he set dates and times and made an event of it, and block parties and everything, as he cleaned up the slums. Graffiti, old pissy mattresses sitting outside, dirty tires, and needles and crack files all over the floor, all over the ground. And these were some rough neighborhoods. And he made what was ugly into what was beautiful. It was hard work. It was dirty work. You had to get a dumpster pulled out there. Okay? It was messy work. Cleanup is messy work. If you want something to become beautiful, it has to go through a very ugly process first. That's what we just came through with the South Node Libra. Yes, it was an ugly process. Yes, it was a lot of things to mention that was not cute. That was not flattering. But it's also part of a purification. It's part of beautification as well. The finished product is about to be seen. We're about to see a version of Venus like never before. And she's evolving into a reflection of her mother, Yemeya, the moon. Yemeya is the epitome of beauty. The epitome of beauty. Understand. This includes wisdom, the will to nurture, advocacy, viscosity, intuition toward care, and protection of the weak. It also represents righteousness, piety, modesty, unconditional love. These are the attributes that's going to become females in society. These are the attributes that's about to become women of society. But first, she had to go through that. And why was it? Feminism did it to her. That's not her nature. That's not who she is. That's not how she is. She went astray through feminism, and it caused her undoing. She became out of her character, out of her image, out of her identity. And now she's returning after going through that, and she's going to reap the benefits of all of that through wisdom. In hindsight, understand. So anyway, I think I made this beautiful point of where we're at. And with Saturn going direct, you could expect Saturn's going to pass you back through the degrees that you have already experienced as Saturn is coming out of retrograde. And what this is going to look like is strength that was not realized, integrity that has not been realized, obedience that has not been realized, boundaries that has not been realized. And what I mean by not realized is Saturn is going to show you strength that you didn't know you had in the same experiences that you already passed through. Saturn is going to show you that you have boundaries in places where you lacked boundaries before. Saturn is going to show you that you have grit, staying power, that you have obedience and discipline in areas where before you didn't. Okay, so as Saturn goes back over the same degrees that it's already passed through, this is revealing to you, showing you what you have now as a result of Saturn as a personal trainer to your soul and developing strength in your soul. And that strength is going to keep you in a space of dignity. All right, so don't blow it. Don't ruin it. Learn His obedience through the things that He suffered. Understand. Cultivation. Let's remember cultivation. Taurus, we should never fail to bring to mind cultivation. So, whatever is intended through Taurus, it must be cultivated. Taurus is not an algorithm of spirit that is impulsive, that is quickly earned and obtained. Taurus tills the ground, and it does so slowly, consistently, reliably, patiently, deliberately. So there's a particular way of showing up for this consciousness, and it's a long-term attitude. It's an in for the stay attitude. Set your pace and go attitude. Taurus doesn't start something without finishing. Taurus can often appear to be quite lazy, but no, it's not the case. With Taurus, there is every bit of the intention to do what is worth doing, to do that which there is value in doing. If something cannot be cultivated in doing so, Taurus is not interested. Once Taurus believes in something, once Taurus knows that there's value there, Taurus will not stop. Taurus will not give up. It is the most stubborn mind. It is a stubborn mind, but stubbornness can be a great thing when we're set in the right direction. It could be a wonderful thing once we have it figured out, when there's sincerity there, when we're coming from a place of understanding, love, compassion, gratitude, dignification, understand? So, Taurus, where you have Taurus, a new beginning because there's an ending. Okay? A new beginning is at dawn. But the full moon suggests that something has to be cleaned up, something has to be let go, something has to be wrapped up, something has to be cleaned up. Okay? This community effort. Right? And we're making space for what has to be cultivated thereafter. And this is already clarifying what has to be cultivated thereafter. We have to make a beautiful experience and environment in our purpose, in our mission, in our identity, informing the world that we are new to make it a place that is hospitable, that is comfortable, and that gives us a sense of stability again that we all have been alienated from for a very long time. And where is that stability really at? It's in your ethos. It's in your values. It's in your self-esteem. That's where stability is really at. And through the instability that Uranus has been pushing and pushing through earthquake and volcano at Taurus constantly, we came to realize that stability is in my virtues. Stability is in my identity. Stability is in having healthy boundaries here. Stability is in my ability to cultivate a healthy self-esteem for myself. That's where my stability is really at. Stability is in realizing where my values are and not straying from it, honoring them, having the dignity to not be entitled, having the dignity to not be entitled. Stability is in being present, because if we can be present, we will always realize that enough is a feast. Allahu musta'an, God is sufficient for our needs. We will always realize that by being present. Taurus says, I have, always counting what you have. Gratitude. Cultivation is ahead. Cultivation, you have to, with faith, optimism, responsible management, consistency, enthusiasm, goodwill, strong values. You have to go to work. You till the ground for what you expect. You till the ground for what you expect. No handouts. No gimme. No, I'm entitled to. No. What you earn. And this is the essence of conservatism. I know, I don't want to hear it. Well, you're going to hear it from me. You should be used to it by now. That's the essence of conservatism. No handouts, no freebies. Get off your ass if you want it. Work for it. What are you willing to do for it while keeping your dignity? This is a sign of what's ahead. A society, a country with less entitlement, less handouts, more earning, more getting off of your behind to make it happen. And this is a collective attitude that comes in, as indicated by a large, well-kept public park. the violence, the corruption, not being neighborly to each other, these different stigmas. We are receiving the consciousness to overcome these things, to overcome these common experiences in our world. We're changing our attitude, our value system. We're rising higher with it. Taurus is where you see value. It's also where you have to have stability. It's also where you are willing to always cultivate, work consistently. You are trustworthy in this area of your life. Sturdy, reliable, dependable. With Uranus being here, we were innovating, upgrading our realization of value. And our realization of value, it had to ascend out of materialism. It had to ascend out of entitlement. Thus the combination South Node Libra and Capricorn. It also had to, through Uranus and Taurus, we learned authenticity when it comes to our values. That you have your own set of values, you have your own set of virtues, and the only fault is not to have any at all, or to have that which causes harm or destruction to other people. This is the turning point where we're expected to show responsibility to what we do that causes other people harm, shame, oppression. One group entitled, delusional, running amok, bringing effect and consequence to others that is not fair. No, we're going to clean the park together. This is our world. We're all going to participate in becoming the examples, the personalities that we know we should see every day. Being neighborly, loving, having good character for once, collectively. A conservative world is coming in, is downloading. Greater values, neighborliness, brotherhood, sisterhood is coming in. And we had to work through all of these shadows to get there. But it's our garden, and we're going to make it exactly what we need it to be. Now, competition has to end here. Impulsiveness through fear, it has to end here. Because when we're in a spirit of competition, we have left out of the consciousness of I have, which is Taurus. Taurus is not interested in competing. Scorpio is, I desire, because it's still longing for something as it left the present state. Not so Taurus. Because Taurus has the view, the focus, the awareness of what Taurus has already. And all of us can take the time to realize that we all have enough. We have what is sufficient. There is nothing wrong with desiring more, with wanting more for yourself. We should, from our self-esteem, from our dignity. We should. But not without overlooking what you already have. Enough is a feast. The spirit of gratitude, the spirit of being present with yourself, being present, not looking and longing and coveting for what somebody else has or what somebody else is doing. Be content with you. This can end a lot of hostility, competition, aggressiveness, vengeance, bullying, harassment, all of these very bad things. It can end. And the fear from ignorance, the fear that's projected because you feel in lack. You feel like I don't have. I want that. I want this. I want that. I want this. Not realizing what you have. So you feel in detriment. You feel deprived. You feel denied. Now you feel entitled to what somebody else has. And now envy peeks its head. You don't want that person to have that. You don't want that person to be that way because you don't have it. So now you're envious of somebody else. Now you're hating on somebody. Now you're jealous. This spirit is now being addressed through this. How are we going to clean up this park together? And that park is our human experience. It's a garden. It's a status of felicity that we should have access to together. Just as Adam and Eve had before that they descended to the earth to learn some things. We're going back to that status of spirit and consciousness. We're headed back. But we had to overcome these lower base impulses, the lack. I don't look like that. I don't have that much money. I don't have that kind of car. I don't have that kind of house. I don't have that kind of girlfriend. I don't have that kind of man. I don't have that kind of job. I don't run that kind of business. And now envy, jealousy, discontent, ingratitude, depression, loathing, all these things are starting, and it could have been prevented and cured even simply by being present. Look what you have. Look what you've been blessed with. We have to get back to weighing value and provision. Truthfully, it's been reduced to $1. That's not the sum total, the value, the meaning of provision. Provision is not limited to monetary value. Provision is not only monetary. We do this when we consider jobs, careers, business ventures. We do this when we consider what type of relationships that we want. We miscalculate and misjudge value. We miscalculate and misjudge provision and what it really means. What do you bring to the table, so-called? There is value, and there are provisions that can outdo $1 any day. count the presence of a person who has skills, wisdom, beautiful character, a loving will, great leadership, the ability to counsel, comfort, and listen. A person who can produce therapeutic outcomes in environments. Someone who influences the morale of an environment. There's so many provisions that we have forgotten how to count and weigh. The dollar is not always the value that a person brings. Material is not always the value that a person brings. It's also not the only value that you should judge yourself by, that you should measure yourself by, how much money you make. Oh, do you make 200,000? Do you make 400,000? Do you make 100,000? Oh, so you're better than this person because that person makes more money than you. This is laughable. It's also cryable that we think this way. Who's more valuable? I heard a wise man say, the character in the heart is what determines that. That's what I heard a wise man say. But do we really believe that? It's a shame if we don't. Because if we don't believe it, we have things to learn for our own good. We miss out on what's truly valuable in life. We miss out on what really could bless us in life because we're stuck on commercial ideals, things that were sold to us, things that were engineered in our minds and hearts to believe and accept as being true or as being the case. Key individuals in your life we will dismiss because of monetary ideals, material ideals. Not with Taurus, no. This is different. We're closing that. Because guess what? As a collective, we're at a higher consciousness. We access the higher level of being, a higher level of coexisting. Where I no longer look at you and I determine your value by how much money you make or by what job you have, what degree you got from college. How many businesses you own and run. Guess what? Capricorn 29th degree is over. That was that world, and we're not in that world anymore. It's a new timeline. But you're free to choose to go back to that world. But there's a lot of karma there to catch us up if we should choose to slip back into that world. There are many worlds, and you're free to go to any world you want. But there's lessons in every world. Understand? A different perception comes in now. Oh, I see this person's value. We should be able to identify everyone's value by witnessing them. And the last thing that we should take note of is the dollar. How many dollars they have. We're in a new conscious. It's way higher than what we just came from. The folly. How many songs were written? How many movies? How many shows? How many advertisements? How many comments from these funky celebrities that was suggesting to us, suggesting to you, suggesting to me that we are to determine the value of a person by how much money they make? Who taught us that? Is that the case? Is that the truth? Joke is on us if that's what we think. This full moon activates Uranus. And with the activation of Uranus, everything is unpredictable. As what Uranus will do is coming from a timeline measure that crosses timelines of lifetimes, generations. And the levels include where we are evolving to, not where we are familiar with coming from. It's like the polar end of what Pluto does. Pluto recovers truth. It reintroduces the truth. Revelation from the underworld. Uranus does so from heaven. The higher frequencies, that which you have not known, what you have not seen, what you have not understood before or witnessed. So the activation of Uranus is going to be sudden changes and adjustments in our life, in our society, as it relates to finances, as it relates to our value system, which is going to be entirely new. And you do not have the ability to fathom what that's going to look like. Because the moon is activating Uranus, this will have to do with a futuristic concept of the domestic experience, which of course includes women, children, husband, wife, father, daughter, sister, brother, society overall, the spirit of society or culture of society with the moon, as an infrastructure of society is through Saturn. This is explaining that a new culture is coming in. And it is a culture that we are not well versed in. However, it's going to come from our mastery. It's going to come from our mastery codes. It's also going to come from the hindsight of our experiences, our wisdom. Where we just came from is going to be part of what informs how we are going to introduce a new culture that we all will share in this earth. New standards, new ideals of what is acceptable and what is not, what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. All new. And we're downloading it as we speak. Mastery comes to the forefront. And this mastery, again, is with the culmination of the last timeline in the last world, South Node Libra, Capricorn. South Node Libra, Capricorn is now venom that's being transformed into antidote. The poisons, the venom, is now becoming medicinal. It's going to inform of strategies and solutions that bless us all. The crisis that some of us were subject to, collectively and individually, it now becomes part of how revelation will dawn on us, on how we ought to be now. Collectively, we've had a lot of drama in the country. And the drama in the country will take the very individuals who were subject to or affected by weaponization of system, weaponization of infrastructure, weaponization of institutions, and they will become the very ones who informs how it should be adjusted, transformed, or innovated. Imagine that. Like Joseph in the well, okay? And he comes out as the priest to Pharaoh. And now he comes up with policies that addresses, say, matters that he suffered in prison. Okay? So what's happening is the people who suffered, the people who really truly were victims, the people who really went through things, they are being given power to be the ones who choose what detailed changes and adjustments are going to be made as it relates to infrastructures that exercise oppression. That's going to be a part of what causes a change and shift in culture. Everything behind us that was oppressive and divisive is now going to be submitted to changes that protects the people from its reoccurrences. Understand, this also would take place in your life personally. Uranus is going to insist that you are authentic. It's going to insist that you go according to your own destiny and identity and value system. It's going to pick you up as the bull. And it may enrage you righteously. But one thing for sure, with Uranus being activated, you and I are now rebel, hopefully with a cause, and you and I are now revolutionary, hopefully according to the revelation of truth in our life as a collective, as the people. Your Uranus placement at Taurus, you have changes that are about to come there that's going to line you up with your destiny and purpose. It's going to catch you up to be on time for your own show. It's going to give you the genius and the innovation that's necessary to bring in stability and something that you can truly be thankful for and cherish. Understand? Incoming.